Chosen one, stop scrolling. This isn't just another video. There's a moment forming in your life right now, something subtle, something easy to overlook, but powerful enough to change the direction you're heading. And here's the strange part. Your instinct might be to react, to reach for it, to fix it, to chase it. But don't touch it. Because what happens next depends on your ability to pause, to observe, to trust the shift that's already happening within you. There comes a time when your life starts speaking in quiet ways, not through loud signs, not through dramatic moments, but through subtle discomfort, a feeling that something no longer fits. You begin to notice how certain conversations drain you, how certain environments feel heavy, how the things that once felt normal now feel out of place. It's not random. It's not confusion. It's awareness. You're starting to see clearly. And clarity changes everything. But here, where most people lose it, the moment they feel this shift, they panic. They try to fix things too quickly. They chase answers. They force outcomes. They grab onto whatever feels familiar just to escape the uncertainty. That's the moment this message is for. Because not every situation needs your immediate action. Not every emotion needs a reaction. Sometimes growth looks like stillness, like stepping back, like letting something unfold without interfering. And that's uncomfortable, because we're taught to do something, to control something, to respond instantly. But real transformation doesn't always happen in movement. It happens in awareness, in restraint, in choosing not to repeat the same reaction just because it feels natural. Think about it. How many times did acting too quickly lead you back to the same cycle? The same patterns, the same outcomes, different situations, but the same feeling. That's not coincidence. That's conditioning. And now you're starting to break it. That's why things feel different. That's why you feel pulled away from old habits. That's why certain people don't resonate the same anymore. You're not losing connection. You're gaining clarity. And clarity can feel lonely before it feels freeing. So when something triggers you now, when you feel that urge to respond instantly, to text back, to explain yourself, to prove something, to chase something that feels like it's slipping away, pause. Just pause. Because this is the moment where your growth is being tested. Not by what's happening outside, but by how you choose to respond inside. You don't need to control everything. You don't need to force understanding. You don't need to hold onto something that's already shifting. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. Let things reveal themselves. Let people show you who they are without interference. Let situations unfold without forcing an outcome. Because what's meant to align with your growth will do so without you having to chase it. And what does will slowly fall away on its own. That's the part most people don't trust. The waiting, the unknown. But this is where transformation lives. Not in control, but in awareness. Not in reaction, but in understanding. You're not the same person you used to be. And that means your responses can't be the same either. This is your chance to choose differently, to break the cycle, to step into a version of yourself that doesn't react out of habit, but responds with awareness. So right now, whatever you're dealing with, whatever feels urgent, whatever is pulling your attention, take a breath, step back, and remember, you don't have to touch everything to understand it. You don't have to react to everything to grow from it. Sometimes your power shows up in your stillness, in your patience, in your ability to let life unfold without forcing your way through it. This is your shift, and it's happening for a reason. If this message found you at the right moment, take it as a reminder to trust your growth. Stay aware, stay grounded, and most importantly, stay true to the person you're becoming. If this resonated with you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen. Because this journey you're on, you're not walking it alone, and maybe no one around you fully understands this version of you yet. They remember who you were, how you used to react, how quickly you used to respond, how easily you used to engage. But now something in you has slowed down. You think more. You feel deeper. You question things you once accepted without hesitation. And that can make people uncomfortable, because your growth changes the dynamic. Not everyone will understand your silence. Some will misread it. Some will think you've changed too much. But what they don't see is you're not becoming distant. You're becoming intentional. There's a difference. You're no longer giving your energy to everything. You're no longer reacting just to keep the peace. You're no longer holding on to things that drain you just because they're familiar. And that takes strength. Real strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself loudly. The kind that shows up in quiet decisions. In moments where you could have reacted, but chose not to. In situations where you could have chased, but decided to stand still. This is where your power is building. Not outside, but within. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. Growth will test your patience before it rewards your clarity. It will put you in situations where your old self would have taken over instantly, where your emotions would have rushed in without hesitation, where your habits would have repeated automatically. But now you're aware, and awareness gives you a choice, a pause, a space between what you feel and what you do. That space is everything, because in that space, you decide who you are becoming. Not your past, not your patterns, not your impulses, but you. So when you feel that urge again, that pull to act quickly, to say something, to fix something, to control something, remember this moment. Remember why you're choosing differently now. Not because you're weak, but because you've the need to react the same way. You're evolving, and evolution doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like restraint, like silence, like letting things pass without needing to interfere. And slowly, something powerful starts to happen. You feel lighter, clearer, more in control, not of everything around you, but of yourself. And that changes everything. Because once you master that, no situation can shake you the same way again. No reaction can control you the same way again. No pattern can trap you the same way again. You become steady, grounded, unshaken, not because life stopped being unpredictable, but because you stopped needing to react to every moment of it. And that's the shift, the quiet shift that changes everything. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't break it by going back to what you've already. Stay in that space. Stay aware. Stay patient. Because what's unfolding within you right now is something most people never take the time to understand. And you're doing it. One pause at a time. One decision at a time. One moment of awareness at a time. And as you continue walking like this, something else begins to shift. You stop needing constant validation. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop trying to make everyone understand your decisions. Because deep down, you understand them. And for the first time, that feels like enough. There's a quiet confidence that starts to build inside you. Not loud, not attention-seeking, but steady, unshakable. You begin to trust your timing. You begin to trust your instincts. Even when things don't make sense immediately. Even when others question you. Even when the outcome isn't clear yet. And that's where most people turn back. Right at the edge of transformation, they go back to comfort. Back to noise. Back to old reactions. Because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. But you're learning to sit with it. To let it teach you. To let it shape you. You're realizing that not knowing everything is part of becoming something new. And that's powerful. Because it means you're no longer living on autopilot. You're present, aware, intentional. And the more you stay in this state, the more life begins to reveal itself in a different way. You start seeing patterns earlier. You start understanding people more clearly without needing them to explain. You start feeling what aligns and what doesn't almost instantly. Not because something magical happened overnight, but because you slowed down enough to actually see. And here's something important. Just because you can respond doesn't mean you should. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to act on it immediately. This is the level most people never reach. The ability to feel deeply, but respond wisely. To care but not lose yourself. To be present without being pulled into everything. And once you reach this point, your life becomes less chaotic. Not because problems disappear, but because your reactions no longer create more of them. You become selective. With your energy. With your time. With your attention. And that selectiveness protects your peace. So if you're in a moment right now, where something feels intense, where your emotions are pulling you to act, where your mind is telling you to fix something immediately, take a step back. Not everything urgent is important. Not everything emotional needs action. Not everything uncertain needs control. Sometimes it just needs your awareness and your patience, because clarity doesn't come from rushing. It comes from observing, from allowing, from giving things the space to reveal what they truly are. And when you finally see it clearly, you won't feel the same urge anymore. You won't feel the same attachment anymore. You won't feel the need to chase, fix, or force anything. You'll just know. Calmly, silently, completely. And that kind of knowing changes everything. So whatever this moment is for you, don't rush to touch it. Don't rush to control it. Let it unfold. Let it teach you. Let it show you something deeper about yourself. Because sometimes, the moment you choose not to react is the moment you finally take your power back. And once you feel that, you'll never want to go back to who you were before. And from that point on, something inside you refuses to go back. Not out of arrogance, not out of pride, but out of understanding. You've seen what happens when you rush, when you react too quickly, when you hold on to things that were already slipping away. And now you see differently. You move differently. You choose differently. There's a calmness in you that wasn't there before. A grounded energy. A quiet awareness that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone. And people will notice it. They might not say it directly, but they'll feel it. The way you don't argue like before. The way you don't chase like before. The way you can walk away without needing the last word. That's not weakness. That's growth in its form, because it takes strength to stay centered. When everything around you is trying to pull you back into old patterns, it takes discipline to stay silent. When your emotions are asking you to react, it takes awareness to step back. When your instincts are telling you to jump in, and you're building that now, moment by moment, choice by choice. This is how transformation actually happens. Not in one big breakthrough, but in small, consistent decisions. Decisions that no one else sees. Moments where you choose peace over impulse, clarity over chaos, growth over comfort. And over time, those moments add up. They shape you into someone who is no longer easily shaken. Someone who doesn't lose themselves in every situation. Someone who can face uncertainty without panicking. That's who you're becoming. And it's happening quietly, slowly, but powerfully. So if things feel different right now, if you feel like you're in between who you were and who you're becoming, that's not a bad place to be. That's the transition. That's the space where your old self is fading and your new self is taking form. Don't rush through it. Don't try to escape it. This is where the real work is happening. Within you. So trust it. Even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it feels uncertain. Even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is. Something deep. Something real. Something that doesn't need to be forced to be powerful. And one day you'll look back at this phase and realize this was the moment everything started to change. Not because something external happened, but because you chose not to react the same way anymore. You chose awareness. You chose patience. You chose growth. And that choice changed everything. So stay with it. Stay grounded. Stay aware. Because the person you're becoming is worth every moment of this transformation. And when you fully step into that version of yourself, you won't need to chase anything anymore. What aligns with you will meet you there. Naturally, calmly, without force. And that's when you'll understand why you had to learn to pause in the first place. And when that understanding finally settles in, it doesn't feel like a loud victory. It feels quiet, stable, certain. You're no longer searching for signs everywhere. You're no longer second-guessing every feeling. You're no longer asking, "What should I do?" every time something shifts. Because now you know how to sit with a moment, to observe it, to understand it before reacting to it. And that changes the way life responds to you. Situations that once felt overwhelming start to feel manageable. People who once confused you become easier to read. Emotions that once controlled you begin to pass through you without taking over. Not because you've become numb, but because you've become aware. And awareness creates space. Space between impulse and action. Space between emotion and decision. Space between who you were and who you are becoming. That space is your power. Guard it. Respect it. Don't rush to fill it just because it feels unfamiliar. Because most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid that space. They distract themselves. They react instantly. They chase noise just to escape stillness. But you're learning something different. You're learning how to be still without feeling lost. How to be patient without feeling stuck. How to let things unfold without forcing your way through them. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's the kind of growth that doesn't just change moments. It changes your entire direction. So if you ever feel like going back to reacting instantly, back to chasing clarity in chaos, back to holding onto things just because they're familiar. Pause. Remember how far you've come. Remember how different you feel now. Remember the peace that comes from not engaging with everything. You've tasted that peace. And once you do, it becomes harder to trade it for temporary reactions. So protect it. Protect your energy. Protect your attention. Protect your growth. Not by isolating yourself from the world, but by choosing how you show up in it. With awareness, with intention, with control over what truly deserves your response. Because not everything does. And the more you understand that, the more your life starts to feel aligned. Not perfect, not effortless, but aligned. And alignment feels different. It feels calm, clear, grounded, even in the middle of uncertainty. So whatever you're facing right now, whatever feels unfinished, whatever is tempting you to react, just remember, you don't have to rush this. You don't have to force this. You don't have to touch everything to understand it. Sometimes, your greatest strength shows up in your restraint, in your patience, in your ability to let life reveal itself, one moment at a time. And as you keep choosing that, you'll notice something quietly powerful happening. You're no longer trying to become someone new. You're simply returning to who you are without the noise. And that changes everything. If this message met you at the right moment, take it as a sign to slow down, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Drop a comment and share what part of your journey you're currently in. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen. Because this path of growth, clarity, and self-awareness, it becomes a lot more powerful when you walk it with intention and with others who understand the journey. And even after all of this, there will still be moments where you feel pulled. Moments where the old version of you whispers, "Just this one time, react like before." Moments where silence feels uncomfortable, where patience feels heavy, where waiting feels like losing control. That's the part no one talks about. Growth doesn't erase your past. It teaches you how to respond to it. So don't be surprised if those urges come back. Don't be frustrated if you feel tested again. That doesn't mean you've gone backwards. It means you're being given another chance to choose who you are now. And every time you choose awareness over impulse, you reinforce that new version of yourself. Stronger, clearer, more grounded. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it right every single time. This isn't about becoming flawless. It's about becoming conscious, about noticing sooner, pausing longer, responding better. That's real progress. That's real change. So if you slip, reflect. If you react, learn. If you feel overwhelmed, slow down again. Because this path isn't linear. It's layered. And each layer reveals something new about you. Something deeper. Something more honest. And as you keep going, you'll start to trust yourself in a way you never did before. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to handle yourself, even when you don't. That's a different kind of confidence. One that isn't dependent on outcomes. One that isn't shaken by uncertainty. One that stays steady, no matter what unfolds. And that's when life begins to feel less like something you're trying to control, and more like something you're learning to move through with awareness, with calm, with intention. So the next time you feel that pull, that urgency, that emotional wave rising inside you, don't fight it. Don't suppress it. Just notice it. Breathe through it. Let it pass without letting it decide your next move. Because you are not your first reaction. You are the awareness behind it. And that awareness is where your power lives. So keep choosing it. Again, and again, and again. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because that's how this transformation becomes real. Not in what you say. Not in what you promise yourself. But in what you consistently choose, in the moments that matter most. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you'll respond to something that once would have shaken you. With complete calm. No overthinking. No emotional rush. No need to control the outcome. Just clarity. Just peace. Just understanding. And in that moment, you'll realize this is what you were building all along. Not control over the world, but control over yourself. And once you have that, there's nothing left that can truly take your power away. So stay with it. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Because what you're becoming is something strong, calm, and deeply real. And that is worth every moment of this journey. And the deeper you move into this version of yourself, the less noise you need, the less approval you seek, the less urgency you feel to prove anything to anyone. Because you're no longer building your identity from reactions. You're building it from awareness, from intention, from quiet, consistent choices that align with who you truly are becoming. There's a certain peace in that. A peace that doesn't come from everything going right, but from knowing you'll be okay, no matter how things unfold. And that's when life starts to feel different. Not easier, but clearer. You stop taking everything personally. You stop attaching your worth to outcomes. You stop chasing closure from people who can't give it. Because you've learned something deeper. Closure isn't always something you receive. Sometimes it's something you choose. You choose to move forward. You choose to let go. You choose to stop reopening doors that only lead you back to old versions of yourself. And that choice, that quiet, powerful decision, changes your direction completely. Because now you're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're creating it through your awareness, through your patience, through your ability to stand still when everything inside you wants to move. That's mastery, not over life, but over yourself. And once you reach that level, you begin to notice something almost surreal. The things you used to chase start to come toward you. The clarity you were searching for begins to reveal itself naturally. The connections that truly align start to feel effortless instead of forced. Not because you controlled the outcome, but because you aligned with yourself. And alignment has a way of simplifying everything. So don't underestimate this phase you're in. This quiet, sometimes uncomfortable space of holding back, of observing, of choosing differently. This is where everything is being recalibrated. Your mindset, your reactions, your standards, your energy, and all of that shapes your future in ways you can't always see immediately. So trust it, even when it feels slow, even when it feels uncertain, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. Something internal. Something foundational. Something that will show up in your life, not as a sudden miracle, but as a steady shift in how everything feels and flows. And when that shift fully settles in, you'll look at situations that once overwhelmed you and feel nothing but clarity. You'll look at people who once confused you and understand them without needing answers. You'll face moments that once triggered you and remain grounded within yourself. And in that stillness, you'll realize you didn't lose anything by not reacting. You didn't miss out by not chasing. You didn't fall behind by not forcing outcomes. You gained something far more valuable: control over yourself, peace within yourself, clarity about yourself. And those are things no external situation can take away from you. So whatever you're holding back from right now, whatever you're choosing not to touch, stay with that decision. Trust that pause. Trust that awareness. Because sometimes, the moment you don't react is the moment everything starts aligning in your favor. Quietly, naturally, without force. And that's the kind of change that lasts. The kind that doesn't fade when circumstances shift. The kind that stays with you. Because it was built from within. So keep going. Keep choosing awareness. Keep choosing growth. Because this version of you, the one you're stepping into right now, is real, is grounded, is powerful in a way that doesn't need to be loud. And once you fully step into that, you won't just see life differently. You'll experience it differently. With calm, with clarity, with a deep sense of control that comes not from holding on to everything, but from knowing exactly what to let go of. And that is where everything truly begins. If this message hits something real inside you, don't ignore it. This isn't just inspiration for a moment. It's a reminder of the version of you that's trying to come forward. The one that pauses instead of panics. The one that observes instead of overreacts. The one that chooses awareness over impulse. So take this seriously for yourself, not for the video. Start noticing your reactions today. Start catching yourself in the exact moment you want to rush, reply, chase, or force something. And instead of doing what you always did, just pause. That pause is where everything changes. If you're on this path of self-awareness, growth, and inner transformation, then you're not here by accident. Stay connected to this space. Subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen, not just for content, but for reminders that keep you aligned with the person you're becoming. And comment below, what are you learning to let go of right now? Because the moment you start becoming aware of your patterns is the moment you start becoming free from them.